This Saturday, the All Blacks kick off their 2025 campaign in their first test match against France in a 3-game series that will take place in New Zealand. The first test match will be in Dunedin. And in this video, I'm going to give you my picks for the All Black team who I think should play in this particular game and some reasons around why I've chosen these particular players. So let's get into it right now. G'day everyone, welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan who's living in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Now in today's video I'm going to talk about my lineup that I would choose for the first test. We all have an opinion of course on this, so I'd love to know what your thoughts are, not only on my team selection but also some of the players that you would have in the team for this upcoming first test against the French team in Dunedin on Saturday. Now I've done a specific pick here because I'm going to give some players a one-off chance in my opinion to prove themselves in this first test match. If they don't do that, then I would drop them, but I'll go through those players as we name the team. So a couple of things to be reminded of before I start my team announcement. The first one is the All Blacks are going for their 500th test win this weekend in Dunedin. So that would be a huge milestone for New Zealand rugby and for the All Blacks if they are able to get that 500th win this weekend. A couple of injury concerns coming into this game in the weekend for the All Blacks. It means that Wallace Satiti is going to be sitting this series out, along with Tamati Williams, both having knee injuries and having to have operations, so they'll be out for a number of weeks respectively. However, when it comes to Wallace Satiti, the guy is an absolute amazing athlete and he could be back sooner than the 6 weeks they're predicting, and Tamati Williams could be around about the same, so we'll have to wait and see. So that's meant a couple of changes had to be ringed in for this All Black selection, and that's what I've included in my team. So let's have a look at the forwards. And in the front row, we'll replace Tamati Williams with Ethan de Groot in my team. Cody Taylor gets the hooker spot for me. And on the other side of the props, we're going to go with Tyrell Lomax. So I guess there was no doubt about those three being selected, given the fact that Tamati Williams is going to be out for this particular series. Then moving on to the locks, and for me it's Tupou Vai and Scott Barrett. These two picked themselves, and I think that Tupou Vai has really gone to another level with his rugby, so going to be fascinated to see what he can achieve in this particular series. Going to be looking for him in the lineouts in particular to see whether or not he's able to secure a lot of good quality ball for the All Blacks. Scott Barrett's captaincy for me is going to be under the microscope throughout the series. I want to see whether he's able to kick on from a leadership position and being able to make those critical calls if a game gets close throughout the series. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that one. Then moving into the back three, this is where we're going to see the changes because of Satiti not being able to play. And I'm definitely going to put Ardie Savea in the number 7 jersey. That's where a lot of us have wanted to see him play over the last couple of years, and that's where I think he should be playing in this particular team. Lucy in the team for me is Samapini Finau. He'll be in the number 6 jersey. And at the back, I think we should see Christian Leo Willie, the Crusader, coming in to play in his first test match for the All Blacks. So that would be the forward lineup that I would have in this game. And again, because of those 2 injuries to Wallace Satiti and to Tamati Williams, those are the changes that have been reflected. We'll get on to the bench after I've talked about the backs, but let me know what you think of my forward selections for the first test against the French in Dunedin. So let's move on to the back line, and starting off at halfback, I would start Cam Roigard in this game. I think he's the right pick. I think he can cause a lot of troubles to the French around the inside channels, and I want to see him doing some of those darting runs that we know he's very, very good at, but his distribution needs to be on point and trying to get this back line away. And talking about the back line, in the number 10 for starting this game, it's got to be Beauden Barrett for me. Now a lot of you are going to say, yeah, well, you don't like Damien McKenzie anyway. Well, I do like Damien McKenzie, but I just think he's better off coming off the bench as an impact player for the All Blacks. For me, Beauden Barrett has rejigged his game a little bit this year. We've seen better awareness around him from a kicking point of view and making sure that he makes the right decisions. Eyes up, looking at what's going on in the game. That's what we're going to be looking at from Beauden Barrett, and I'm going to keep my eye on that to make sure that he's being able to make the right calls at the right time to get this back line away. Then moving on to number 12, and it's going to be Jordie Barrett for me starting this game. I was a little bit reluctant to do this, but I want to give him a go to see how he goes in this particular test. He had a good series with Leinster over in Ireland, and I'm hoping he brings that kind of form back to the All Blacks and shows us what he can really do at number 12. So that's going to be one of the positions that I've got a question mark on as we head towards the second test, based on his performance in this first test. Then outside Jordie Barrett, I want to see Billy Proctor in the game. If you watched my videos last year, we know I was calling out for Proctor to be given an opportunity to show what he can do in the All Black jersey. We saw him in that game in San Diego against Fiji, but then he was warming the bench for most of the season, so I was a little bit disappointed. I hope Billy Proctor gets a start at 13 in this particular game, and it's going to be up to him to see whether or not he can own that jersey and put himself in that 13 jersey for the remainder of the series against France. So probably what you're starting to hear from me is a couple of these positions in the first test have definitely got question marks over them, because I want to see how these players perform. If they hit the ground running and they put in a good performance, then I would pick them again for the second test. If they don't show up on Saturday against this French team, then I would make some changes and give other players an opportunity. So Jordie Barrett is one of those players, and Billy Proctor needs to have a good game, in my opinion, to be able to consolidate his position in there for this French series. Now moving on to the wings, and another one of those players, or I should say another two of those players that have got question marks for me, and they need to have big games to be able to show their consistency at this level and to be able to be chosen for the second or third test of this particular series. And the first one is the left wing, and it's Rieko Ioane that I'm picking to go there. I think he's a much better winger. We've seen that over the years. I know that a lot of you will agree with me on this factor. And some of you are saying, well, why should he even be in the team? He's been one of the old boys clubs picked by Ian Foster and so on for so long. Well, I'd like to give him a go on the wing to see how he performs, but give him one match to show what he's got. He's got to be hungry. He's got to get in there, get the ball, and show us what he can do out wide, and whether or not he's still got the pace to beat some of the best defences in the world. The same goes on the other wing with Sevu Reece. I'm only giving him a start in the first test to see how he performs. If he doesn't have a good game with a ranking of over 5 or 6 out of 10, then I wouldn't be putting him in the second test team. So this is really a case of the two wingers having to perform, in my opinion, if they're going to get a chance in the second and third test. And then at fullback, we've got Will Jordan. And a lot of you have been saying, well, this is his position. Of course, he can play on the wing as well. But let's see how Jordan goes at fullback, and if he can make a connection with Sevu Reece and Rieko Ioane to really create an out-wide threat for the All Blacks. And that's what I'm going to be looking for in this game against the French on Saturday. I'm going to be a hard taskmaster this year for the All Blacks. I think I want to really see some performances out of Jordie Barrett, out of Billy Proctor, out of Rieko Ioane and Sevu Reece. And if those guys can't deliver, then I'd like to see other people being given the opportunity. We have a lot of good rugby players in New Zealand, and one of the problems we have is they just don't get a chance. And I think against this French team in this 3-match series, we have a great opportunity to give these younger guys a go and really see whether they're up to the level of All Black rugby. So let's move on to the bench now and see who I would be starting off the bench, and we'll start off in the forwards. And the front row, I think, really much picks itself. We've got Takiaho, we've got Ollie Norris, who's coming in as a debutant, and we've got Fletcher Newell. Picking these guys on form, I want to see how they go off the bench, particularly Ollie Norris. Can he be one of those players that comes in and makes an impact in that last 20 or 30 minutes of the game? And that's his job, to be able to do that if he's going to be selected in this team on Saturday. I want to see how he is with ball in hand and whether or not he can get around the field and make a critical difference to the All Blacks attack when it comes to overpowering these French forwards in the last 20 minutes of the game. So that's something I'm going to be really, really looking out for. And then the other two forwards I'd have on the bench is the Dutchman Fabian Holland. Great young guy. I like this guy, the way that he plays his rugby, and he definitely deserves an opportunity. But again, he's got to show that he's up to this level of test match rugby. So coming on in that last 20-25 minutes, making an impact, that's how you're going to be seen by Scott Robertson and the other coaches in the All Black team. And also for Du Plessis-Korefi, he's the one that I would have on the bench as well as the other forward reserve. And again, he's another player I think who's shown great form throughout the year. Now can he step up to All Black level rugby and test match level rugby? We'll have to wait and see if he gets selected on the bench. And then moving on to the backs on the bench, I would have Noah Hotham as the reserve halfback. I've done this because I think he brings something a little bit more electric, and his defense is a little bit better than what I've seen lately of Cortez Ratama. So that's why I would have Hotham in there. I think he brings those two elements. He's good and quick and darting. Bringing him on late in the game can really make a difference, but also if we're in a tight game, his defensive talents I think could also make a difference. So that's why I would choose Hotham over Cortez Ratama at this stage. And then we've got Damien McKenzie, of course, and a smile comes on my face. But I think Damien McKenzie is the man we want to bring off the bench late in the game, a player that can really make a difference and have an impact when we've got tiring legs on the opposition and tiring defense. I think McKenzie is one of those players that can really find a gap, ignite the back line, and help the All Blacks score some points. So let's see if Damien McKenzie gets a chance off the bench this weekend. And then the last player I'd have, well, again, based on form for the Highlanders, I thought he played exceptionally well throughout the year. I'm excited by this guy. I think he's got a weight of talent, not only literally, but also physically. It's Tavata Vanawai, and he's going to have a huge impact, I think, on World Rugby in the next couple of years if he shows his form with the New Zealand All Blacks. So there you go, that's my bench that I would have against the French this weekend. Again, a lot of these positions have got a question mark over them because I want to see these players perform, and if they don't have really outstanding games against this particular French team, then I would definitely be making changes for the second test match to be played in Wellington and give other players an opportunity to shine. I think this French series has set up a wonderful opportunity for Scott Robertson and his team to experiment a little bit and to really show whether or not these younger players, these debutants, have got what it takes at this level against this particular French team. So there you go, there's my first test team to play for the All Blacks against France in Dunedin this coming Saturday. I will be back with another video as soon as Scott Robertson announces the team in New Zealand on Thursday their time. I'll give you my views of the team that's announced. We'll see how different it is to the picks that I've chosen today, and we'll talk about what I think is going to happen in that first test based on those particular players that have been chosen by Scott Robertson. Game video, I'll be making a post-game video where I dive deep into the game, talk about all the different elements of the game, specifically focusing on the players that stood out, those that didn't stand out for all the bad reasons, and we'll talk about what should happen then heading into the second test. Of course, we've got South Africa taking on Italy in their first test match this weekend of a two-match series that's happening in South Africa. Again, I'll be giving you my views on the South African team and the Italian team as we head into that game, and I'll be giving you a post-game analysis of that game in South Africa as well. So there you go, plenty of rugby coming up this week and this weekend, and I'll be here making videos for all of that content. So if you want to stick around and be part of our wonderful global community, hit the subscribe button, give this video a bit of a thumbs up, and stick around for the journey, and make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments about the respective teams that we're likely to see this weekend and the outcomes. I'll be putting a few predictions up there as well for you to participate in during the weekend, so look forward to that. Okay, I'll be back again really soon with some more content. For now, it's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Until next time, bye for now.